But at the end of the day, you have to tailor the messaging to resonate to the target. You have to demonstrate alignment with the industry. You have to demonstrate that you know what the trends are. And all of this together is what it makes you attractive when you are in a search or you're interviewing, even if excitedly, with the client.
It is the we versus the I. I think that is a really, really key statement that you made that I don't think a lot of people realize, that especially if you're coming from an area where you've been an individual contributor or had a very small team for a while, and maybe you've led a lot of the strategies that have been implemented. Now you're changing, and it is the we in that. And I think that that's very, very key for your story of impact and performance.
Things change. So you have to be an eager learner. You have to be a sponge. You have to embrace emerging technology. You have to read about artificial intelligence, analytics.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the 10X Blueprint podcast. My name is Simone Knight. I am your host. And today we have an amazing guest for you. We have Mar Hernandez. She is the co-founder of NU Advisory Partners, and they focus on executive search. So she is known to be an exceptionally driven, collaborative, and consumer-centric person. She's notable expertise in placing corporate officers like CHROs, CFOs, general counsel, and also supporting boards, financial services, technology, fintech, telecom, hospitality, and specializing in different organizations with specific needs. Prior to co-founding NU Partners, Mar was senior member of financial services and corporate officers in DE&I practice for Russell Reynolds Associates, where she was also the co-head of the Hispanic Board Initiative. She has built up the financial services practices at TransSearch in the U.S. before her 12 years in the search industry. She has held senior sales and marketing roles with firms such as Amicorp, Emphasis, EDS, and TT Tech. So without further ado, I want to bring to you and introduce you to Mar Hernandez. Mar, how are you? It's so great to have you on the 10X Blueprint podcast today.
Thank you, Simone. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you for the introduction and my first podcast. So happy to be and learn as with this.
Your first podcast. I had no idea. You have such an illustrious and long career in executive search and working with some of the biggest and most well-known global companies in executive search. So I am so happy and thrilled to be the first podcast host that you've been with here. So fantastic. This is a real hot topic, executive search in the area where we are with emerging technologies right now, and people upskilling and trying to really position themselves and their personal brand for these new areas of growth and leadership and development. So I can't wait to delve into this topic with you today to talk about how emerging technologies like AI, AR, and other areas are really impacting executive search, talent development, and personal development.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's a game changer.
Yes, absolutely. So now, always before I get into the podcast, I always like to do a little fun thing to help my listeners understand the person that we're talking with and really just get to know you a little bit. So I like to do some fun rapid fire questions, if you don't mind. All right.
Absolutely. Right.
So Mar, you're based here in South Florida, and I know that you've been here for a while now and you know a lot. So I want to ask you a few things. First of all, Brickell versus Coral Gables. Those are two very different personalities. You got downtown Brickell, which is more like city, and Coral Gables, which is more like country town.
That's a Thai one, but I will say Coral Gables for living, Brickell for business.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Wine versus martini.
I'm a Spaniard, wine.
All right. And then when it comes to technology, people are very, very particular about this one now. Apple versus Samsung.
Always Apple. Look, to be honest, I never organized Samsung, so I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty happy with Apple.
What I realize is that you Apple fans are very, very diligent, okay? You are not switching, and that in itself is an amazing feat of brand fandom that Apple has achieved, where you are not switching. But I am just as passionate about my Samsung.
That's what the beauty of diversity.
Let me tell you, When I first went to a water park with my daughter and I had my waterproof Samsung phone, and this was probably about 10 years ago, and I was in a water slide and I had the phone tucked into my bathing suit and I landed in a big pool at the bottom. I saw the look on this lady's face in horror when I landed in the pool with my cell phone. It dropped to the bottom and I picked it up and I started filming. And I was like, Samsung, thank you very much.
Let me tell you, I miss the keyboard of the BlackBerry.
Stop it right now.
I know that is history, but that was amazing. I was a machine.
Now that's a whole other conversation. What happened to BlackBerry versus Motorola, Samsung, all of that. Okay, continuing with our fun questions here. If you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
Teletransportation. My family is in Spain. I would love to have dinner with my mother and come back, or be with my friends from college and come back. Meeting my candidates, all of them in person instead of using video, that would be awesome.
I think that that's a great skill to have, especially being in Miami traffic. I'm sure those listeners out in LA would really love that teleportation thing too. New York, same thing.
Absolutely. Oh, just to saying, look, I'm going to go to the Bahamas for the day and come back and all those kind of things, that will be awesome.
What a dream. But the way technology is going, I think that we will be there sooner than we think. When I think back at all of the things I saw, like in the Jetsons, remember that cartoon, the Jetsons, that was the futuristic cartoon? When I think of the things I've seen in Star Trek, and some of those things are coming true now, or it's just say even over the past 10 years. So the way I've read recently that we are currently, as human beings, experiencing the fastest change in technology in human history. Right now, we are living in it.
Look at artificial intelligence and robotics and watch Blade Runner. We are not as far away.
No, we definitely are not. And I'm not sure if that's exciting or scary or just, for me, it's a little bit of both, to be honest. Okay. All right. One last question. So as you mentioned, you're a Spaniard, you're from Spain, you're here in South Florida, and you're a global citizen. What would you say has been the biggest influence to your approach of talent acquisition based on your experiences in this very diversified culture that you've been in? Because I know that NU Advisory Partners really emphasizes on diversified executive search. So how has your global experience influenced that, you being a co-founder of that organization?
From a personal point of view, I lived in 3 different continents. I lived in Africa, in Europe, in Americas. I think it says a lot about the person that I am and things that I've learned. But if we focus in talent acquisition, I will say that equal it has been working with partners through my career, especially the new funding ones, people that they are forward thinking, tech driven, they are agile, focus on the client and candidate, that centricity. It has been key. But equal in that is what I've learned from my clients. I'm in an industry where each mandate, you learn from an industry, from a sector, from a different kind of function, but you learn about the business, you learn about the challenges that they are having, and then you interview amazing people, okay? And they have different experiences. So yes, my background helps, but I think working with good people and for good people, it's what it makes a difference. And where I am right now is thanks to all of it.
Fantastic. So now let's get into more of a little deeper into the topic. So when I think about executive search, right now we are in one of the tightest job markets we've had in a very long time. I recently read that companies would normally post an executive position and maybe they would get 50 candidates or 100 candidates within a couple of days. But now they're getting hundreds of candidates within that time frame. And then you have these AI tools that are really reading the resumes for you and optimizing for the candidate that you're looking for. So tell me, what do you see as the outlook for the current job market for roles that are executive roles over $250,000 in annual salary?
Look, the market remains competitive, and there are nuances depending on the industry, depending on the economic conditions, depending on the position. The opportunities are there, but they are high competition, and there is a more rigorous selection process. Versus 2023, we see 2024 picking up. We were lucky. We started the company a year ago, so it's very easy to grow when you are from zero. But for us, it was an incredible year. We grew much faster than what we thought, but definitely it was not the best year for the industry. The pace on how clients manage the mandate has changed a little bit. It takes more time to kick off, a lot of process involved, but definitely we always going to have a need of talent. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is helping the industry. It's not only thinking that it's only going to help in the process. At executive level and those kind of positions that they are more than $250,000, the machines are not going to pick up the candidate. What machines and artificial intelligence is doing is really helping in minimize or be faster in how you run the operation and giving you more time to be on the market, to talk to candidates, to talk to clients. So I think we are at NUO, we are either building, buying, or modifying technology in order to help us to leverage artificial intelligence in our favor. I don't see it at the executive level as a threat. I see it as a huge, huge opportunity. And then what it has changed a little bit is that clients are looking different competences. Experience is important, but they are more open to cross-functional backgrounds. And instead of asking for people that comes with a roadmap, we want people that comes with a compass. And this is a real big difference. Things are changing so fast with what's going on with technology that what you want is people with a compass. Roadmaps, you have to change them every 2 or 3 months. So that's a big difference that we are seeing. And candidates, they have to think that way in the way they present themselves when they are in a search process.
That is really interesting. They're looking now for candidates with a compass instead of a candidate with a roadmap. A compass, when I hear that, I'm hearing you have a general strategic direction that you are focused on. Your background, your experience brings you that knowledge, and you are in position to navigate this company in that direction. That's where they're trying to go. Is that what you would say is a compass?
Things are changing so fast, okay, that having that agility and making sure that what is the north, that where the company has to go, is more important than the ability to write the roadmap. You need roadmaps, but the important thing is to know where is the north. So because conditions in the market change, we've got a lot of things going on. There is worse, there is technology, there is data analytics changing a lot of things. One of the biggest competences that we are looking is to have that clear direction of where we have to go. And this goes from CEOs and anybody in the C-suite.
Okay, so then having said all of that, what would you say executives should be doing and should be thinking about in order to stay competitive in this type of market?
I will say continuous learning to be competitive. You cannot believe you know everything because all what I do, we were talking about it, things change. So you have to be an eager learner. You have to be a sponge. You have to embrace emerging technology. You have to read about artificial intelligence, analytics, and you have to hone in leadership abilities. You have to cultivate a global perspective. And then you have to make sure that you are agile, that you can adapt, that you can navigate different things, different situations. So all of this together, that as you see, we are talking about soft skills more than experiences. Experiences are going to be there. Anybody can read a resume and see where you have been, what industries you work. But where you really have to invest is in those soft skills. And if you have that continual learning approach, you're going to be okay, because that's how you absorb everything that's going on around you.
I love that. It's so interesting because this conversation about soft skills, communication, leadership, strategy versus hard skills, tech skills, programming, tactics, that's been a back and forth conversation for a long time. And what I've realized is the higher you go in your career, right? The longer you are in your career, is the more and more soft skills are important. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Look, there are things that differentiate. I always say there is a difference between being a boss and being a leader.
Yes.
And bosses tell you what to do. Leaders tell you what to do. They make sure you develop, and they are the ones that they have those leadership skills mastered. Because as important as telling you what to do is to make sure you are engaged, that you are motivated, that you are giving 150% in what you do. And that does not come from knowing coding or being a good accountant. It comes from being a good leader.
Interesting. I love that. That doesn't come from being a good accountant or your hard skill, right? It comes from being a good leader. As someone who is a technical person, I started my career as an engineer, as you know, and then I transitioned into marketing and became a marketing leader. And when I say that to people, their eyes always like widen, thinking, how did you make such a change? But I want to say that you're absolutely right. It was my soft skills that really helped me to navigate that change. I was definitely intentional about the change. That was one thing. I had a compass in terms of where I was trying to go. But in addition to that, I've never stopped being an engineer. It's actually part of my secret sauce. And I want to definitely point that out to anyone in a technical field that is listening right now. Every day, I am still an engineer because what we do is we solve problems. We solve problems, we find solutions, we use technology, innovation, all of that. But what I've done is I've taken all of that from being an engineer, from being a project manager, Lean Six Sigma, Black Belt, all of that. But I've taken it into marketing to solve consumer problems, to solve engagement problems, and to look at how to blend technology, creative, and strategy in a way that is going to make big deliveries in terms of outcomes for the companies. And I think that's an important point to make when IT folks, programmers, engineers, they are listening to this thinking, whoa, I've already spent decades of my life in my career. How do I do this? And there is so many ways to gain those soft skills to lead your project teams, your product teams, to deliver the services and products of the future.
That's the concept of cross-pollination of talent. Right now, we are leading a chief people officer search where the client has been very clear that they want someone that has experience out of HR as well. So they want someone operational, strategic, or very, very close of a P&L, someone that has owned a P&L, because those are the ones that they really can enable later on businesses through their other experience. In this case, is going to be HR. So yes, I think it's one of the trends that we see in the industry. And I'm talking about this example that is HR, but we can extrapolate that to other positions where they want backgrounds like yours. Someone that has that duality, because that's also diversity, is diversity of background. Okay, so it's another aspect of diversity. Everybody thinks about diversity, about race, and diversity is also what do you bring on the table? How do you differentiate? How do you complement with your experience and competences versus the rest of the team?
I love that diversity is not just about race and gender, but it is also about diversity of skills. And I think you're absolutely right that right now, those diversity of skills are so much more important than have been in a very long time, because you have the technology changing so quickly. And a lot of people actually don't have the skills yet to really be able to utilize the technology. So you have to be able to do what I call crossover, right? You have to be able to transfer your skills from where you had this experience and this strong background to now apply that knowledge and that ability to think through and to innovate in this new platform. So let me ask you something else about how you position yourself as a brand, knowing that this transition and this duality is becoming more and more important. And I'll just give you a personal story. I left my previous role with a corporation and I decided to take a break. I took a sabbatical for 2 years. And in that time, I decided that I was going to go back to work initially. And I started to look around with executive search, right? Now, what I was seeing at that time was what I call a lot of laser focusing. A lot of organizations that really wanted someone that had only that experience, which I would thought was really short-sighted. Are you seeing that's changing now? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's changing. I will say it all depends also of the culture of the company and how leadership and even the board sees it. What I can tell you, we do a lot of work in the private capital space. Private equity, they really want people I have a client that says that they have a nose for the business, right? And then having a nose from the business is being very close of a P&L, is understanding the challenges of the business, challenges of the industry, independently of where is your background. If it's marketing, it's finance, if it's HR. So I think those are the ones that, because they know it works and they know that it helps to move forward the business agenda or achieve the goals, they are open. But I don't work in the past with Hilton, and the guy that he was the CHRO at the time wanted people that they had no HR experience as well. So it all depends of the vision that the leader has. I will tell what I can say is from that first client that I had with that vision, that it was Hilton, to where we are right now, is a theme that we are listening more. Or even when they don't ask, but we introduce candidates and they have that kind of background, it's an immediate reaction. Oh, this will be great. Okay, we like that. So I think it's changing. I'm not going to be I'm telling you all the clients think the same way, but it's evolving on that direction.
What would you recommend for people to do in terms of developing their personal brand? So if you are someone in the middle of your career and you're looking to make that leap from, let's say, a director to a vice president or maybe an EVP or going to the C-suite, what are some of the things that you should be thinking about and you should be doing? Maybe it's someone who is about to retire, or they're looking to go to get a board seat on a public board, and they need to start really building that personal brand because they haven't really done much of it in the past 5 or 10 years or so. What would you recommend that these people be looking at now to build that personal brand strategy?
Something that it sounds simple, but people are struggling, and I always say you have to focus, is you need to craft a distinct narrative highlighting what is your value proposition. Okay? Think about it. Think about who's your audience. Think what you have done. And what makes you unique? Why do they have to hire you? And this is something that I don't think people are investing enough time. A couple of weeks ago, we were with a group of 4, and we were asking each one of them, what is your unique value proposition? And you could see a big difference. The ones that they were sitting in boards, they nailed it. Once they wanted to be on boards, they were a little bit hesitant of how to put it together. And you have to master it. You have to think about it, and you have to make sure that you put it together in a distinctive way. There are other things that are important. What is your leadership skills? You have to foster an online presence nowadays. You have to cultivate professional networks. But at the end of the day, you have to tailor the messaging to resonate to the target. You have to demonstrate alignment with the industry. You have to demonstrate that you know what the trends are. And all of this together is what it makes you attractive when you are in a search or you're interviewing, even if it's directly with the client. So all of those things, I think they are very, very important.
I heard you say that soft skills are a big deal, right? So you definitely have to develop that soft skills in terms of leadership, strategy, communications, etc., to be malleable and to be flexible in these different genres. I heard you say that being able to crossover between different industries is also something that's a key skill right now. And then developing your personal brand and being able to master how you talk about your value proposition. So with all of that and having people a vast digital footprint, it sounds like you've got to get your elevator pitch, right? You got to know how to talk about yourself. That's really it. I remember early on in my career, talking about yourself was a taboo. Now, if you don't talk about yourself, you're out. Right? So you need to market your own brand. That's what you're saying.
You just need to know what to say and what it makes sense in the context where you are operating. But the unique value proposition is yours. That's why it's so important. That's what differentiates you from anybody.
I always ask people, what's their secret sauce?
I ask that question in my interviews as well.
Right. If you can't answer what's your secret sauce is, the thing that makes you different from person A or person C, then that means you need to work on that. That is your homework for today. For anyone listening to this podcast, is you must be able to talk about your secret sauce in 10 seconds or less.
Yes. I totally agree with you.
So now, having said that, with people having all these things, all these avenues to promote themselves, LinkedIn, YouTube, other areas of social media, writing books, doing podcasts, speaking at different events, when it comes to the rise of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence in the role of executive recruiting, so how do you see it impacting that industry and the hiring landscape in general?
Artificial intelligence in recruitment processes is really streamlining administrative tasks. It allows people like me, all the executive recruiters, the consultants, to focus really on strategic activities. With artificial intelligence, you can augment the candidate sourcing. You can screen faster. It can help you to match capabilities. It can enhance efficiency to reduce bias. But human expertise is what it really matters in assessing intangible qualities as cultural fit, leadership potential, emotional intelligence. So I see it as an iceberg. If probably clients or even candidates or that you can only see the tip of the iceberg, the top, but it's a huge thing that all those technologies can help to streamline the administrative tasks, the methodology, and that gives you more time to focus on things that really matters and things that really helps you to from a good candidate to the best candidate.
You brought up something that I think is really important, and we haven't touched on it before, and it's bias and AI. Okay. So people as humans have inherent bias in some things. There's been so many studies that's the resume study. They have the exact same resume. They have different names at the top of the resume. One name that quote unquote sounds like it could be a person of color, and another name where it sounds like it's not a person of color. And they show that a lot of times the person that does not have a quote ethnic name is the one that is chosen for the interview based on just the name alone. And that is a human bias. Now, I've also seen studies that have showed that when there is inherent bias in a system, when you add artificial intelligence to that system, it can also amplify the bias because the AI is training off of the data that already exists. Have you encountered anything like that where you've had to make a change in your systems or recommend that maybe a client perhaps use this AI in a different way?
I haven't encountered, but also probably because our culture, just to give you an example, 60% of our successful candidates have been diverse. Okay. So I think it's also, and that's what I was telling you, artificial intelligence helps, but it still is a human component. And knowing the human have bias, but it also depends what values do you have, what you are trying to do. I haven't encountered it, and I have to say that other than typical bias that everybody has, I haven't been with clients where I was like, oh my God, this is really, really bad. And I've been lucky my clients are not that way. I think it's one of the challenges that artificial intelligence, the same way that I say artificial intelligence is a huge opportunity, I don't see it as a threat, but they are also challenges. Okay? That doesn't mean it has to be a threat. Usually your position when you have a threat is to be against. Challenge, it's something that you have to embrace, and it's part of life. And there are all of those things that we have to think about it, how we are going to do it. But again, you cannot just say, I'm not going to use artificial intelligence because of that. It's just learn. It's a continuous learning process. I'm pretty sure there are going to be tweaks that they have to be. We are learning how to use artificial intelligence. Nobody's a master on how to use it. I really think that we have to make sure that we take in consideration those challenges and watch it and see how we are going to be reacting or tweaking.
Absolutely. I think that that's great advice too, because the AI is only as good as the data that goes into it. And I think that that's a great takeaway for organizations that are using artificial intelligence in their search, which a lot of them are at this point, or using third-party software to help with that. And it's just really to take a look at what the diversity of candidates that you're getting in terms of diversity of gender, of race, of thought, of experience, because that is the richness of your talent pool. and the talent pool can create a competitive advantage for you. So why limit that? Why limit that and making it lopsided in any one particular way?
The way that I see diversity, and I talked to clients about it, is you don't have to choose a diverse candidate because it's the right thing to do. We all love to do the right thing to do, but the real reason is because it's the smart thing to do. Okay? It's because it really adds to what you are trying to do. It really adds value to your business. I think it's really good to do it because it's the right thing to do. But the real reason what a client has to choose or chooses someone that has a diverse background in whatever shape that we have already discussed is because it's the smart thing to do.
Fantastic. You're always on the lookout for top talent, Mara, right? That's your role as a co-founder of NU Advisory Partners. And what is your secret to spotting top candidates or spotting potential in candidates that you speak to?
I think it is being executing. As important as it is to your strategy, and it's important is being on the field, talking to leaders, talking to clients about the challenges that they have and what they face, what their goals are. What talent has been successful with them? Why not? Why yes? Calling sources, people that you know, you build relationships, but also you learn a ton from them. Making time for courtesy interviews, okay? It can sound like, oh my God, now this person, I don't know if it's going to be, if I don't have a position for it, but making that time because you learn a lot and you never know whether that person is going to end up being a source for one of your mandates, it's going to be a client, it's going to be a candidate. So I think it's to have that holistic approach. And when you assess people, it's beyond qualifications and experience. It's observing how do they adjust, what kind of resilience they have had. Are they innovative? Are they going to be a good cultural fit? Do they align with the organizational values of your client? Where do you think that person is going to be next? What is the leadership potential that they have? All of this is not being in the ivory tower saying I'm a partner and I only talk to clients, and it's being on the field, duty. So I think that's key and makes a difference, to be honest.
This is some really great information. And I know that navigating an executive search as a candidate can be a little bit tricky, can be a little bit nerve-wracking as you're trying to figure out what that right next move is. I just have one last question for you. What are maybe some of the things that you think as an executive candidate you should avoid doing? And what are some of the things that you should definitely do?
We talk about the value proposition. So do your own roadmap, your roadmap. Make sure you know what you're going to be saying in an interview. Do your due diligence. The worst feedback that a client can give you is that the candidate didn't came prepared to them. And again, remember we were talking about being an eager learner, to invest in. So study the industry. Who are the trends? What are the trends? Who are the people that they are making a difference? Go to their websites. When earnings calls, make sure you go prepare. And those are things that you have to do. Be transparent, be honest, be on point. You don't need to explain the whole thing. Is make sure you listen and you always answer questions. And not to do is never use the I. Nobody likes someone that says, I do, I was, I led. Make sure that you have an approach where you give everybody space. I supported. You can say, I led with my team. We did this. The I versus the we is very, very important. And just make sure that you don't do anything. Yeah. Oh, one thing that is important. Be careful with your social. Well, I don't care what you think about politics, religion. Okay, don't use social media. If you're in an executive role, we are going to check what you have said and we have done. And sometimes some statements or words can really ruin your potential to get a position in the C-suite. So use social media in a smart, professional way. Okay? If you're going to go with your friends into a bachelorette party, we don't need to know, especially if you're going to do something stupid or you're going to take a stupid picture. So all those kind of things, and you will say, oh my God, at executive level, people should know. Yes, but sometimes there are big mistakes, not with pictures, but with statements. So that's another thing that I will watch out. It's more practical than it's strategical, but it can bring your chances to get a position.
I 100% agree. And I try to tell people all the time, especially people who are in their early to mid phase of their career, what you say and what you do matters. You do not have to post everything on social media. You need to separate your personal social from your professional social and use those security features to lock down your social media so only your friends and family, that you choose can actually see it. And I think it's a lesson that more and more people have learned how important it is that the internet does not forget. And if you are looking for a board seat, a new role, or you're being promoted, people definitely do check. I really love what you said, Mar, about for these leadership roles in the C-suite and VP and above, it is the we versus the I. I think that is a really, really key statement that you made that I don't think a lot of people realize, that even especially if you're coming from an area where you've been an individual contributor or have had a very small team for a while, and maybe you've led a lot of the strategies that have been implemented. Now you're changing, and it is the we in that. And I think that that's very, very key for your story of impact and performance.
I would like to add something that wraps up what we just talked about. It is, and this is something that came from a client of mine, so it's not mine, but she told me, we hire humble, hungry, and smart. I think it's perfect definition of what we're doing.
Hungry, humble, and smart. I love that. Add that with the brand story, with the soft skills, with how to use AI and how to protect your social media presence. I think that those are some amazing nuggets in terms of those people who are trying to position themselves for the C-suite or are already there and looking for that next opportunity. Mar, thank you so much. I love having you on the podcast today. If people want to reach out to you at NU Advisory Partners, how can they find you? How can they reach you?
We have a website. I have a LinkedIn profile with my contact information. And so I think and follow up. And I'll make sure that we always follow up.
We always follow up. Thank you so much for being on the 10X Blueprint podcast today, Mar. This was some amazing information that you've given to our listeners, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. Thank you, everyone, for listening today.
Thank you very much, Simone. Thank you, everybody, and we will continue talking.
Thank you, everyone, for listening today, and we'll see you next week on the 10X Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Simone Knight. Bye-bye.